Hi everyone, today we're gonna talk about how you can actually make money from major Apple events. These Apple events usually take place like every 3 months, and Apple company usually introduces some new products. Last week on the 9th of March, on Wednesday, they introduced the Studio Display, Mac Studio, new iPhone SE and new iPad Air. You can very easily profit from these major announcements when you buy the stock at the correct time and when you usually sell it during this Apple event. There are usually 4 major Apple events during the year, so if you come prepared just like me, you can make some money from trading Apple stock in the stock market. My strategy is very simple, so let's get through it very quickly. Over here you can see Apple stock price on the day when the Apple event actually took place, so it was on the 9th of March. You can easily profit from the announcement. This is a 1 minute chart, so if you want to copy this strategy, make sure to be using the same charts and the same time frames. Almost every time when there's like a major Apple event, so for example when Apple introduces new iPhone, new iPad or a new Mac or a MacBook Pro or some of the new products, the stock price is also affected. When the news is mostly positive, so for example when they actually announced what everybody is expecting, then the stock usually climbs higher and you can profit from this too. On the other hand, when the news is not as positive as you would expect, so maybe they do not announce the new product or the analysts indicated something different, this might also negatively affect the stock price. It's also very important to follow also the major stock indices, what they are doing. So for example for Apple you must also follow Nasdaq 100. So for example if it might be a very bad day in the stock market, and if Nasdaq drops by 5%, probably Apple will do something very similar, so this might be also affected. Therefore, I created this strategy to be as accurate as possible. So what I actually do and how you can profit from the announcement. So on 9th of March, the Apple event took place at 7 p.m. European time in Germany. So it was over here. So this is where you can see that the Apple event started. After let's say 50 minutes of the Apple event, the stock started dropping because let's say the positive news faded and the excitement was gone. But prior to that, almost like 2 hours prior to the Apple event, you can see a pretty big gain, and basically the Apple stock was climbing and going higher all the time. So what I usually tend to do during these major Apple events, I buy Apple stock during the day. So it's very important that you can also day trade if you want to profit from the Apple event. I usually buy it like 2 hours prior to the event, so when the Apple event starts, and then I sell like let's say after 50 minutes of the Apple event, when the excitement fades out. Also, it's important to know that you should also follow like the daily RSI level. So when you can see that the stock is very overvalued and the RSI is above 70 level, then you should not probably be buying into the Apple event. But when it drops a little bit and it's the best level would be around RSI 30, that's when you should definitely buy and just wait for it to rise and go higher. So the climb from 156 to 163, so it was at least like 3%, so it's a pretty nice daily gain, I would say. So let's go more deeply through my strategy. So the step 1 would be to buy almost 2 hours before the Apple event starts. So in this case, in my case, for the European time, that would be around 5 p.m. and then I would sell like after the Apple event started, so like 7:15 p.m. Also, it's not important to buy exactly like 2 hours before the event starts, but I would follow the RSI, and when the RSI is around like 40 or 30 or maybe even 20 level, that's when I would definitely buy prior to the event. and sell after the Apple event starts, so around 50 minutes when the excitement fades. Also make sure to follow the RSI level, and when it's around 30 or 20 or maybe even 40 level on 1 minute chart, that's a pretty good time to buy in and wait for some gains. In this case that would be maybe around 3%, which is quite a big gain. Make sure to price in also any news in the stock market. For example, right now we have a Ukraine and Russian war conflict, so this is also something very important to know. When the whole stock market, or for Apple in this case Nasdaq, would be going lower and dropping, um, then probably the Apple stock will not be gaining for the day, so this is very important to know too. If new products are better than expected, then we should see some really big gains for Apple stock. If not, or if they do not introduce or announce something that everybody expected, then maybe the stock will fall and go down. Even if the stock usually drops after the Apple event, when the news are more or less positive for the Apple company, we will see the Apple stock higher the next day. So in this case the next day open was also almost like 2.5%, almost 3% higher. So I also usually use Apple events to predict like any major stock corrections, or like the stock market corrections. That's also a pretty good indicator. When Apple introduces some really big new products, the stocks are gonna go higher the next day. So as we already talked about, so the stocks are gonna be higher the next day if the announcement is more or less okay. I also use Apple events to predict the stock market reversals. Usually happens around like major Apple events and major Apple announcements, if the news are positive more or less. So this is a very simple strategy how you can actually profit from major Apple events when they introduce new products such as iPhone, iPad, MacBook Pro. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want to maybe see more strategies, more simple strategies like this. And happy trading, hope you make a ton of money in the stock market soon.